In April 2024, I set out to hike the Pacific-Crest-Trail. I stayed with the famous Scout and Frodo in San Diego before I set out. On April the 4th, I started my hike from the Mexican border. Signed my name down at Cliff Campground. Then I started hiking with a small group. I was so excited to finally be there, and I felt really confident that I could make it. In the morning we had some rain showers and later also some snow. Arrived at Lake Morena around noon, soaking wet, so we decided to go to a hotel to dry out our stuff. Came back the next morning and had some breakfast. On day 3, I hiked a lot of the time alone, and I had no problem with that. I actually enjoyed it. Taking in the views, taking a lot of pictures and videos. At the end of day 3, I ended up at a campsite alone. I slept okay and felt so much stronger the next morning, proud of myself. It was a cold and frosty morning when I hiked into Mount Laguna. Picked up a resupply box, had some breakfast at a restaurant, and then I continued my hike. On day 4, I stayed at Laguna Campground with some other hikers. The next morning I hiked out early because it was a cold night and I needed to get warm. Again on day 6 I hiked out early and I really enjoyed the morning light. It was so beautiful. It was a hot day with very little shade. Because of lack of shade, I decided I wanted to go to Stagecoach Inn and stay for the night in a cheap dorm room. At Stagecoach Inn, I met Autumn and Cax, 2 American hikers. They got a hitch back to Scissors Crossing and I got a hitch to Julian. I enjoyed a free piece of pie and met up with Spicy, another hiker I had met earlier. We hitched out together to Scissors Crossing and started hiking a couple of miles before we set up camp in the evening. The next morning I had a long hike before I could get some water from a water cache. I hiked 10 miles in the heat. Near the end of the day, I reached mile 100. The next couple of days I hiked with Spicy, and later on I also met Autumn and Cax again, and the four of us stayed at Mike's place for the night. The San Jacinto Mountains began to get closer, and I decided to do it with Spicy, and before that we took a zero in Idlewild. We got our clothes washed at the local laundromat. Yeah, I had no idea she did this video. She sent it to me later on. All geared up for the snowy mountains, we got a hitch to the trail from Cindy. I really enjoyed those couple of days I hiked with Spicy in the San Jacinto Mountains. In that area you often had to go down on a side trail to get some water. I bumped into another Danish hiker and had the most beautiful night with views over Palm Springs. This is one of the sketchy, snowy traverses we had to do up in the mountains. There was a lot of snow up there, so we decided to go down Devil's Slide Trail. We shared a room in Idlewild that evening, and then I went back to the trail the next morning. I hiked up the Black Mountain Road. At the top I had some beautiful views over the mountains, and I could see I-10 just down there. The next morning I passed the 200-mile marker. Going down from the San Jacinto Mountains was an endlessly long and incredibly hot descent. I almost suffered from heat stroke. Got picked up by Mitzi, a trail angel, and stayed with her along with Carrie and John, a nice couple from Salem, Oregon. When we got back to the trail, a tough hike through Mission Creek awaited us. The original trail had been completely washed away by the Hurricane Hillary. I hiked this part of the trail along with Carrie and John, and with Morten and a German hiker. Morten and I started the PCT on the same day. We decided to hike to Big Bear together. We took a Nero in the hostel in Big Bear and went back to the trail the next day. The next town we were going to pass was Wrightwood. On our way to Wrightwood, we passed the 300-mile marker. We also passed an area called Deep Creek where there were some hot springs. One night we camped behind Joshua Inn, a bar, where we got some real town food and drinks. We got a hitch back to the trail from a nice trail angel. Even food from McDonald's can taste wonderful when you're hiking on a thru hike. After the stop at McDonald's in Cahoon Pass, I had a long ascent up where I just listened to an audiobook. In the evening, I pitched my tent in a spot with amazing views over the sunset. The stretch to Whitewood had very little water on trail, so sometimes we just had to filter water from water puddles. In Whitewood, I spent the first night at a trail angel's place. She had some cute dogs and cute cats. The next day, we said goodbye to our trail angel and took a zero in a hotel, before we went back to the trail where Mount Baden-Powell awaited us. We camped at the parking lot and started hiking the next morning at 4 a.m. Mount Baden-Powell had a lot of snow in early May that year, so instead of hiking, we climbed up a lot of the time. Eventually, we made it to the top, but it was the hardest thing I had ever done. We made it to the top around 7 a.m. and before us we had some very slushy descents to do. I was really scared on the descent, and I was especially scared of being injured. I felt like I had no control of what was going to happen. Climbing up and down Mount Baden-Powell took its toll on me emotionally, and in a matter of days I went from being emotionally surplus to being in a major deficit. I had slowly allowed myself to become physically as well as emotionally exhausted without noticing the signs of the exhaustion funnel. I took fewer pictures the last week and didn't write in my journal things that were of great importance to me. I ended up going home to Denmark and not following my plan of staying in a hotel for a couple of days if this were to happen. Naturally, I regretted my decision, and in 2025, I came back with my husband. Just before departure, I injured my shoulder, and even though I had the time of my life, the pain were too much. And after 3.5 weeks, I had to go home. I'm still not finished with the PCT, and in June I'm coming back to hike the rest.